to come online. Terry is one of our advisor, and he is the expert behind cost segregation. So he is here to talk to us about what this thing is all about. What can we do? Where can we find our client? And again, Terry, please, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Well, great to be here. Good evening, everybody. What a great turnout. I'm excited to partner with Sequoia and Alan and the troops. Hopefully I'll be able to attend one of these live events one day. Alan, come down and hang out with you guys.
Absolutely.
But so tonight, let me get my screen up here. Am I able to share? Am I in share mode? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
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 Okay, so Alan introduced me. My name is Terry Judge. I am the CEO of Core Advisors. We've been around for over 17 years doing this exact thing. So we are considered one of the pioneers in the industry. And I will say, this service goes hand in glove with commercial lending, people that are buying buildings, investment properties, and residential. And I'll get into some of those why it's a good fit. Okay, so let me jump to the next slide. So first of all, let me give you guys a little background on cost segregation. And tonight I want to give you the nuggets. Okay, I really want to give you the nuggets. I want to show you how you make money with this. How do you I guess separate yourself from the pack? How do you create a differentiation between you and somebody else in your space, and really put your advisor cap on and offer more value? And this certainly will do that. The money in this is huge. It's a massive market, and your clients will thank you for doing this. And when we get into anything with a tax incentive or anything in that realm, I want to keep this fairly high level tonight. My technical team, again, we've been doing this. I have engineers, I have CPAs, and we have legal all on our team. So we do all the heavy lifting for you. All you have to do is build a relationship with your clientele, and all you have to do is introduce them to this strategy. Some people may have heard of it, some people have not, and CPAs don't offer this in-house. So it creates a pretty unique opportunity. And when you're out there building your business, you're a part of your client's financial team, just like a CPA, just like an attorney, just like the loan brokerage that you guys are a part of. Same thing with cost segregation. We're just part of the financial team, helping you every step of the way. So with that being said, I apologize I don't have my video on. My laptop is giving me some issues, and I can't get my video to come on, so you're just going to have to hear my voice. But this has been in the tax code. I just want to say this right out of the gate. So this has been in the tax code since 1969. Okay, so this is nothing aggressive. This is not anything over the top where it's going to cause an audit. This is actually in the law, and it has survived every administration, and it just keeps getting better and better. So even the IRS, the U.S. Treasury Department, says that cost segregation studies should be considered in almost every real estate transaction. So we all know that there's billions and billions of dollars in financial incentives for especially real estate investors, people that are buying buildings, people that are doing affordable housing. There's always going to be tax incentives for people investing into, like I said, the real estate sector. So and I'll get into why and how it all works. But just understand that the IRS is behind this. They promote this, and it's been in the tax code since 1969. Okay, so commercial real estate industry generates over $1 trillion in transactions per year. 90% of commercial properties out there, and I'm talking about every single commercial property you can even think of, even short-term rentals, it changes hands about every 7 years. And 85% of those folks are depreciating their properties incorrectly due to some outdated tax laws, which we're going to get into. And this is where this program kind of fills the gap. And so a lot of people are leaving a lot of money on the table because they're missing out on this. And I said this earlier, accounting firms just typically don't offer these types of niche services. So we partner with thousands of CPA firms around the country. So as you're out there building your network, you know, you're looking to partner with CPAs, you're looking to partner, you know, with tax professionals, and you guys are in the driver's seat because you're bringing your teams and your expertise and your you know, kind of teams of expertise of people that can help you with other services like, you know, like what you're doing in accounting and legal. This fits a very big niche. Okay, this is a massive niche that's underserved and underutilized by the CPA community because they just don't offer it. So the IRS basically says, even in the tax code, that this service must be done by a specialty tax and engineering firm, that's exactly what we have built. Okay. And the reason why the CPAs typically don't offer cost segregation, I'm going to get into what cost segregation is. So just stay with me. I just want to give you some landscape and some background about this. But just something, if you guys are taking notes, just write down the straight line method. That's how every CPA in America basically writes off a property. You're going to get, if you own a property, you're a real estate investor, you're going to get a small piece of depreciation every single year. It could be for the next 39 years, where in multifamily or residential, it has a depreciable life over 27 and a half years. So you have these properties that depreciate over the course of, let's just call it 30 years, where this strategy, we can actually write a property off in 1 year. And we can front load all that depreciation so the owner of that property can basically take that depreciation and use it against income, which is basically huge. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when you bring this out to a client and you say, hey, you know, have you heard of cost segregation? And they say, no, what is that? We're going to give you guys the language just to give them a quick little 2-minute or a 1 minute or a 30-second kind of, you know, hey, this is a very fast way or rapid way to write off your property, and it's going to increase your profits immediately. And then just connect us. There's a form that we've set up through Sequoia, and then my technical team will get involved and help you, you know, make money basically with this program. Okay, because I know Alan is actually building this into your compensation plan, which is going to be awesome. I'm excited for you guys. So essentially, we're writing off the property in 1 to 5 years. And, you know, why would you let the IRS hold on to the money? So if you were to hit I like to always use this example, folks. If you were to hit the lottery and you won $1 million, okay, do you want to be paid out over 39 years, which is the normally what the CPAs use to write off a property, or would you want that money in today? You know, and the answer is you want that money today. You want it in today's dollars. And so that's the whole concept. So if you just understand this particular concept of what I'm sharing with you, why would you let the IRS hold on to your money when you can get the money in your pocket in today's dollars? So $1 today is worth more than $1 down the road. Especially now we're in such a high inflationary climate. Your clients are going to understand this once they see this. Okay, so the typical savings by doing this strategy from going to a straight line tax depreciation method. That's just what the CPAs do across the country. It's called the straight line method. They're going to write a property off over 27 and a half years for multifamily and residential properties, and or 39 years for every other commercial property asset type. Okay, office, industrial, retail, restaurants, hotels, senior living, everything in that realm is going to depreciate over 39 years. So they hire us to come in there and do a cost segregation study. Why? We're going to be able to carve out all of this depreciation through a technique, which I'm going to get into, and you can actually take all that depreciation in the early life of that building, therefore offsetting the income that property is going to generate, and you're going to be able to put hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket immediately to help grow the empire. Okay. And that's the game. It's time value of money. We're just writing the property off much faster, and we're able to eliminate or reduce taxable income for years to come, right? So if if we're all making money out there and we're crushing it, and you're making, and Alan's paying you big commissions, you guys are selling commercial loans like crazy, you're being taxed at almost 40%. We get taxed when you make money through your 1099 or your W-2. Now you have write-offs, right? There's certain things that you can write off. You want to eliminate that. You want to mitigate that. Where cost segregation is probably the biggest mitigator or optimizer to reduce income tax down to zero. So people that are making big money in real estate, or if they own a company, they're putting their typical, like let's say their salary or their wages, their 1099 or their commission checks, they start buying real estate for this reason. Now, obviously there's other reasons, cash flow and appreciation, but they get this thing called depreciation, and they can use it against income, therefore reducing tax. So it's a huge tax reduction strategy, and it has to be done a certain way. Okay, this is a technical and rather complicated engineering study that I'm not going to get into all the details of the moving pieces, because my technical team will handle all of that stuff behind the scenes for you. This is just a high level training for tonight, so you can kind of get just whet your appetite a little bit and understand, what cost segregation is. So let's get into that. Okay, so essentially a cost segregation study, it is a study. It is about an 85 to 100 page report. And my team goes out to the site, and we basically break apart the entire building, and we're able to write off a big chunk of that property because we're breaking out electrical, wiring, plumbing, parking lots, swimming pools, drainage systems, all this stuff, hundreds of different components inside the building and outside the building, right? Parking lots, I already said, curbs, drainage, landscape, electrical, all of the stuff on the interior and the exterior. Believe it or not, the IRS says you can write off as much as 40% of the purchase price in year one. Okay, so this is the climate that we're in. It's a huge program that when Trump was president, he put this into code back in 2017, and it actually catapulted this type of strategy into mainstream, and it has become, when real estate investors, they absolutely love this. And it's something that the only way to get this benefit is to hire a company like Core. Okay, and again, we can help support you every step of the way. So these are some of the things, and we're going to open it up for Q&A here in a little bit, and we can kind of talk about some questions that you guys might have. And the reason why it's so niche, you guys, is because there is engineers. My engineers physically go to the site. We do a site visit. We analyze the property from top to bottom. We analyze the interior from top to bottom, and there's hundreds of tax codes that support exactly what we're doing, and we just write it into our actual reports. And that's the reason why CPAs don't offer. I always get asked, how come CPAs don't do this? And the reason is because there's engineering strategies and technicalities involved, and there's also been 300 court cases in IRS revenue rulings, that drive this. So they're not attorneys, right? They don't CPAs understand tax. They understand depreciation very well. They don't understand the last two pieces, nor do they want to put their client into harm's way by not doing it correctly. So therefore, it has to be outsourced to a specialty company like Core, and you guys get to play it in the sandbox now as another service that Sequoia is rolling out. So pretty excited to be partnering with you guys. Okay, so And again, we've had, we've had zero disallowances by the IRS. We also supply 100% audit defense guarantee within our fees. In over 17 years, we've done over $2 billion now in total savings with a B, $2 billion. In that, we've had zero disallowances, meaning that we do it right, we play by the rules, and we follow strict IRS guidelines as to how this has to be. This is how, how it's supposed to be done. This is just a chart that basically shows, what the normal, if you see the blue line, that means that you've owned a property and you've been depreciating the old method, the old way, which is the straight line method. Remember I mentioned the straight line method. Keep that in your head or write that down. Most buildings in the US, including residential, rentals, Airbnbs, all these normal properties that we all know, right? They're depreciating incorrectly. And when we correct that depreciation, when someone hires us to do a study on their property, think of it as an appraisal on steroids. We're just going to, we identify certain components in the property that allow for shorter life depreciation where we can write them off immediately. And therefore it front loads all this depreciation onto someone's tax returns. And therefore, once it's on the tax returns, we can mitigate and offset income. And then it goes a whole nother level. You can, certain people that are real estate professionals, we're not going to get into that. But there's other things that you can actually use this depreciation to offset W-2 wages, salary. You might be a high net worth, person, and you're paying Uncle Sam all this tax. There's some other strategies layered into all this stuff that we'll get into on another training segment. But this is Cost Seg 101, so I want to kind of keep it, high level. But so this will give an example, a real life example here on this slide. Under the straight line method, let's say we all bought we went out and bought a property, an apartment building that for 1.2 million. We're going to back out 200,000 for the land. Just stay with me here. So we've got about $1 million, and that building, your first year benefit in the normal straight line method, meaning that you didn't hire us, you never heard about cost segregation. You're only going to get about a $27,500 deduction in year number one for owning that property. Which is good, right? You still get a deduction for being a business owner, an entrepreneur. You went out and bought a property. But look what happens when you hire a cost segregation firm, same purchase price, that $1 million now, you're now able to write off $250,000. And that has a 20-year carry forward, meaning that that's going to become an open checkbook against Uncle Sam when you're making money. You can use that 250 grand for the next 20 years to offset income. Okay. And that becomes, and that's just on $1 million building. What if it's a $5 million building? So what we find is for every $1 million, let me back up, for every $1 million in purchase price or construction cost. This is just giving you as an example how powerful this is. For every $1 million, a cost segregation study will generate $250,000 to $350,000 in year one in immediate write-offs. And that basically goes to the bottom line. That is cash in your pocket that you no longer have to pay Uncle Sam legitimately, legally. And you can use this to accelerate the wealth building. You can show this to your clients that are coming to you for a loan. Imagine if they're looking for a $5 million loan, and you're going to be able to get them, $1.5 million in depreciation just by bringing this to them. So just understand kind of that's the juice right there. Okay, for every million, we're generating on a low end about $250,000, on the high end about $350,000 in immediate depreciation. All right, so the cool thing is now people say, is this, who qualifies for this? Who doesn't qualify for this? And what's nice about this program is if you have clients, family, relatives, you might own property yourself, and you've never heard of this strategy, you can go back legally 20 years. Now, we don't go back 20 years anymore. We go back about 10. the IRS legally lets us go back to 1987. We don't go back that far. That property is fully depreciated, but we do these look back studies all the time, and we do not have to amend tax returns. There's a provision that we do and know how to do, and we'll work directly with the CPA, and we'll show them that you don't have to go back and amend any tax returns. You can redo the depreciation from the date that building was purchased, and then you can carry it forward to the current tax year. So let's say somebody owned a property and they bought it in 2020, okay, and they spent $1 million for it. It doesn't, or 500,000. We can go back in time to the date of purchase, redo the depreciation. That's probably going to generate about 150 grand, and we can then pull it all the way into the current tax year. So 2000, but we're still kind of technically in 2022. Everyone's filing their taxes April, 18th is the cutoff, and some people will extend. But you're able to use that 150 grand to now offset any taxable income from the properties that you own. Okay, so it's that alone again is a pretty amazing element or a part of this whole program. All right, so I mentioned like what's too small. Now we're doing properties from about 350,000 and above. It used to be about $1 million and above, but since the tax code has changed so many times in favor of cost segregation, we're actually doing residential portfolios. We of about $350,000 in purchase price and above. So if you know somebody that owns 10 homes that are rental properties, bring them to us. We don't typically you can't do your own property, by the way. It has to be an investment property. And if you were going to do a solo property, we're looking again for about 350,000 and above, just so you kind of, hopefully that makes sense. But we're doing a lot of short-term rentals, Airbnb type homes. We're doing portfolios of properties, people that own 10, 15, 20, 30 homes, and they never heard of this, or they just never thought that this even would qualify. They're blown away of the kind of savings that we can bring forth to them. So they're very, very appreciative. Now, step one, guys and gals, we will do a no cost complimentary benefit analysis for any property around the country. And we're building tools through Sequoia, through your replicated websites. You'll be able to collect some basic information from your client, and you're going to have a bird's eye view because you're actually looking to do their lending. You can actually put in basic information into the form, and Alan will show you that, and then that'll populate, and that'll come right over to us, and we'll actually put together a no-cost benefit analysis that will literally pinpoint. We've built some software around this because we've been doing this for so long. It'll pinpoint what the tax savings will be, and what a phenomenal way to build credibility with your client when we actually, for no money out of pocket, we'd actually show them what the money's going to be or how much they're going to be able to save in tax savings. So we love the benefit analysis. This is what it looks like. All we really need is the type of building. So what type of building is it? Is it a multifamily? Is it a home? Is it a hotel? Is it an industrial building? Is it a medical triple net property? Does not matter. Any asset class qualifies for this. We also want to know what the purchase price was. We want to know when the purchase date was, and we also want to know if there was any major renovation cost. And that's pretty much it. We can generate. I don't need tax returns. I don't need appraisals. I don't need anything on step one of the benefit analysis. Okay, that is the giveaway. That is the hook. That is what generates the excitement. And again, we can turn these around literally within 24 hours, the 48 hours for you, and we can get them into your client's hands. And then we'll also actually help you with your client, talk about this. When we set up a call, we'll actually walk the client through these numbers. You can be a part of that call if you want to. You don't have to be. Okay, so it's a pretty turnkey scenario. Okay, so these are some of the, obviously, who do you know? You guys are out networking. You guys are building your business. You're meeting people all the time. You know, your net worth is your network. We always hear that. Your network is your net worth. You know, who do you know? I mean, does your doctor own a building? Does your dentist own the building? Where do you buy your cars? Do they own the building? You know, the strip malls you visit, apartment building owners. I mean, it's endless the opportunities that are out there for this service. Again, people are going to be spending, you know, the average client we save is close to 300,000. That's our average. So when we get hired, and we've got about an 85% closing ratio, if you guys do your part, okay, meaning that you're bringing in the opportunity, you're filling out the form, you're collecting a little bit of information on the building itself. We're going to be able to generate that benefit analysis. Then we'll actually set up the call. My team will talk to your client, and we'll walk them through, and we'll close the deal for you, because basically it's free money. I mean, we literally are just giving people money. I mean, in a way, in a sense. I mean, not physically money, not dollar bills, but you know, in an envelope. But literally, the depreciation, the accelerated depreciation that we're getting them turns into money. I mean, it's called tax optimization or tax mitigation is what this is all about. So again, there's a lot more layers to this. I want to kind of keep this, you know, relatively simple tonight in a high level and not get too technical, but I just want to get you guys excited about this opportunity that Sequoia is bringing out for you. All right, so I always get asked, so Terry, this all sounds great. I get it. Most businesses or most buildings qualify for this. But when does it not make sense, right, to do a cost segregation study? The only time it does not make sense is if somebody's going to flip the property and they're going to get out, let's say in 12 months. I mean, or immediately, you know, rule of thumb, if they're going to hold the property for at least 3 years, 3 to 5 years or longer, then it doesn't make business sense not to do a study, right? So that's it. If they're in it, and then maybe somebody doesn't need any more depreciation. Maybe they're sitting on a ton of depreciation from net losses from other business transactions. Maybe they lost a lot of money and they've got losses or what have you. But those are really the only two reasons why. And you know, people that we're dealing with, people that buy properties, they buy properties for cash flow. They buy properties for appreciation. They also buy properties for depreciation, but they don't understand the depreciation that you and I are talking about tonight. We're talking about depreciation on steroids, and it has to come through a technical, like a third-party engineering company like Core. As I mentioned, it usually does not come from a CPA firm or a real estate attorney, okay? And there's nobody else that really offers this stuff unless it's a cost segregation firm that specifically does this for a living. And we do this, we do this day in and day out. I already mentioned this slide, so I'll kind of skip this. This is our look back mechanism. We call these look back studies where, you know, again, people that own properties years back, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 10 years, they've owned these properties, never did this. Guess what? We get to go back in time and redo that depreciation, and they get to carry it forward to the current tax year without amending tax returns, which is a very big deal, by the way, because people never want to amend tax returns. They get weirded out by that because they're like, oh no, I don't want to disrupt, you know, that tax year, and therefore they don't have to. So it's a one-time automatic consent by the IRS, and we handle all of the paperwork internally, and then work with your CPA to make sure it gets implemented on the tax returns, the tax filings correctly. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the process. Again, so once we did the benefit analysis, okay, which is the free giveaway savings, the property savings report, we call it a benefit analysis. Then we let's say they want to move forward, they sign the proposal. We do a kickoff call, usually with the client, with you, if you want to join that call, and we invite their CPA. We make sure everybody's on the same page. Then there are documents like an appraisal, like a purchase agreement that we will collect. If there's site plans, blueprints on the buildings, you know, my team will collect all that. You guys don't have to do any of this stuff once it gets signed. then we're literally going to fly an engineer out to the property. We can do this in all 50 states. Okay. We're going to do all the calculations. We're going to figure out what the depreciation is going to be. Then we're going to assemble the engineering studies, which I said are about 85 pages to 100 pages. An executive summary is then sent out to all parties. Once we get an approval by the CPA, everybody's happy with the final numbers. Then we send out the final reports, and actually we send out the final invoice. And then once we get paid, and I'll talk about that in a second, then we send out the final report. We have zero, Alan, you'll appreciate this. We have zero collection issues because we don't send out the final study, nor does the 100% audit defense guarantee kick in until we've been paid 100% of our money, which means you're going to be paid 100% of your money. So with that, there's some other things, that we do as a company. There are some energy incentives I'm not going to get into on this call, but there are some federal energy savings programs for building owners that are, putting LED lighting in or anything else that can maybe save money on energy. And then they can get up to $1.80 a square foot in the form of a tax incentive for going green. So we'll have more conversations and more coaching around some of the other offerings that are bundled. So what's nice about the program is we are a full service tax and engineering firm, and we've rolled out other services that once a client comes in and my technical team discovers other programs that we can help them with, you automatically get that. You'll automatically get paid on the additional upgrade. So more to come on that. Obviously, this is a long-term relationship, and we are a company that likes to give back. We donate percentage of our sales back to charitable programs here in Detroit and nationwide. And we're also big into the veterans, supporting vets. We're pretty pumped. So you'll be helping us drive that, support that automatically. So we're very cause driven, and that's pretty awesome. So why don't we, Alan, why don't we open it up for some Q&A?
Sure, absolutely. And you mentioned something about energy on the building, and I'm sure that sparks a lot of interest in this group because I know a lot of people in this group are selling something called EV charging stations. So many of these buildings right now are purchasing EV stations to install onto their commercial properties where the electrical car can go to their building and charge. So do they have any incentive like that for EV stations?
Not in our world. Maybe in their world, again, if we're doing the federal tax incentives on energy, not so much that right now, but
okay.
That's all coming. I mean, again,
okay.
Yeah. So anyways.
Okay. No problem. So again, here's a question. He's saying that, are you saying that the client will get cash in hand?
No. There's for the most part, 99% of the clients are going to use the depreciation to avoid paying Uncle Sam ordinary income tax from the income that the buildings and the properties will then generate. So technically it is cash in your pocket because you're not having to write the check to Uncle Sam. And you're basically eliminating, instead of writing this, you're basically saving 40% of tax, and it can be spread out over, you get this provision. If you can't use all of it in year 1, year 2, year 3, it has a carry forward for 20 years.
Okay. So it's more like the tax credit. Or
yeah,
tax deduction.
It's a deduction. So tax credits and deductions are very different. There are some programs that we offer that is a credit, but like the RTC, for instance. But
yep.
The depreciation is just helping you push down your adjusted gross income, and hopefully this is big enough to get it to 0.
Okay, good. Second question. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Edgar from DC. I got a quick question for you. what makes your client, somebody you approach with this program, say no, not to move forward?
Yeah, good question. So if they understand it and we've done our job to explain it, they rarely say no. If they feel like they're going to sell the property within a year's time frame, then we would say no to them, because it doesn't make sense. Okay, and there's reasons why. I'm not going to get into all that, but basically they're not holding the property long enough for this to make sense. And other than that, they might think it's too good to be true. But like I said, if we all do our jobs correctly, that is washed out quickly, because I have tons of IRS tax code and legal memorandums and everything that supports what I just went over. Like, this isn't us making this up. This has been in the tax code, like I said, since the late 60s.
Okay. Ms. Essence, please unmute yourself. Miss Essence. Okay. How about George? Go ahead, George.
Yes. How is the cost or the fee calculated? Is it a percentage of total amount of what the depreciation is going to be? And how does that relate to us getting paid?
Well, I can answer step one, and
Okay.
then Alan can help on the other part, because I have no idea what you guys are getting paid. But it's a flat fee, so it's not a contingency or a percentage of savings. The IRS frowns upon that in this particular service, because the numbers are so big, and it's depreciation. So there's people have different tax rates and so on and so forth. It gets a little sticky. So we charge a flat rate based on the size of the project and based on how many properties there are. Somebody might own 10 properties, right? Once you guys start getting in this, you start talking about it, you'll find people that own more than one property. And that's really where the fees can become, quite large.
Thank you.
Okay, Luke. Sure.
Yes.
So at Sequoia, we are getting 20% whatever is charged to the client. So again, majority of the money goes to obviously the study, pay to the engineer, and so on and so forth. So Sequoia gets 20% of that, and then you will get paid based on comp plan 5.0. So whatever that 20% is, it could be 10,000, 20,000, whatever that might be. So you get paid based on comp plan 5.0. And if you don't know what Compound 5.0 is, please go to our YouTube channel, and we have our training over there to explain to you how the compensation works. Yes, sir. Yep. Dr. Wilmina.
Hi, Alan. Thank you so much for putting this meeting together for us this evening.
Sure.
Great training and information. And I didn't get the gentleman's name or the company.
Yep.
What's his name?
His name is Terry. Terry. Miss Terry Judge.
And what's the name of the company again?
Core. C-O-R-E. Core. Core
Very
Advisor.
Good.
Core Advisor.
Okay, now, how do we get our hands on the cost segregation feasibility analysis form? Or what do we need to do to become a part of Core Advisors?
Well, you don't need to. Sequoia is already partnered up with Core. So on your website, if you have your personal website, right?
Yes.
Go to okay, hold on. Let me share
Products.
this. Yeah, go to products and you will see cost segregation is there already.
Very good. Thank
Yep.
you so much.
All you have to do is just to send it to your client, have them to fill it out, and
Mhm.
Terry and his team is going to pick it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, back to you, Miss Essence. Okay. Not sure if Miss Essence is still online, but anyway, there's another question right here saying that will the company be available if client gets audited by the IRS? Terry?
Say that again?
Will you be available if client get audited by the IRS?
Yes, yes. All of our work is backed by our 100% audit defense guarantee.
Okay, very
So
good.
all of our work will withstand IRS scrutiny.
Alan, this is Benny Miller. I have a question for Terry.
Go ahead.
Hey, Terry, you said it was we need to get some basic information from a client, and it was 5 things, I believe: sales price, renovation cost, date of sale, and what's the others?
Yeah, so the form that we've already built with Sequoia has those questions already built in. But just to recap, it's the purchase price, purchase date, property address, asset class. So what type of property is it? Any major renovations, and I think that's about it.
Okay, another question. How does this affect the client when they get ready to sell the property?
Okay, so that's called recapture, and there's a because we can so recapture is a real thing, right? There's an adjustment that the IRS wants back when they sell the property, but it gets a little tricky and a little technical. We can even talk offline, or I can explain that a little further. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds regarding recapture, but if you're going to hold the property 3 to 5 years, the recapture really is pretty much goes away. You're really far ahead of the game. And we can run recapture analysis on what ifs. You bought the property for, let's say, $500,000 2 years ago, and you're going to you want to sell it 3 years, 4 years from then, and you're going to make, let's say you're going to make $500,000. So how does that affect? We can run numbers on that to show you what the depreciation you got in your pocket and what the IRS wants back, and there's an adjustment in basis. So anyways, there is some recapture tax, but you're so far ahead of the game by employing cost segregation. It becomes a non-issue. The only time it's an issue is if you're going to flip the property within 12 months, and we won't even allow that to happen.
Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question, though.
Okay, there's another question right here by Russell. He's asking, is there a one page on the Sequoia website or email we can send to our accountant, CPA, and building owners about cost segregation? Look here, if you look at your website right here, it's under cost segregation. You pull down the down menu right here. This is the description. It's already on your website. Okay. And if you want to see the exact question, I would suggest everybody to tap into apply and start filling out this in this application. So even though you put some junk into it, at least you can go through the process and understand what type of questions that we ask for. So again, everything is here already.
Yeah, and we don't need the credit score, just FYI, Alan. But I mean, if you want it on there, that's obviously great. But we don't personally need that at our end. Okay,
that's fine. I will just take it out then.
Yeah.
Is this a recording? Yes, absolutely. Every single one of our training will be recorded. Cedric, I see that you have 3 question mark. I'm not sure what are you asking. So again, guys, if you have any questions or whatsoever, feel free to ask Terry. We have about 5 more minutes. This is great information, Terry. Absolutely. This is amazing. I mean, it's a mind-blowing, and especially you mentioned something about use the cost segregation and offset the tax and actually give them the extra money for their working capital. This is absolutely another ways to get funding to our clients through something like this.
Yeah, so some banks, some lenders will look at this as this is a way to improve, not all banks, but some of the banks you're going to start working with, they'll look at this depreciation benefit, where you're going to show the lender on how much tax will be saved on this particular property on the income, and it'll actually help bank loan qualifications. So we'll
Absolutely.
get more into that as well. So it's such a great marriage.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Jason, please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Jason from Vermont. You said we could go back 20 years and go forward 20 years. So I just want to make sure I understand. If we went back, let's say 5 years and brought it up to date, does that mean it carries forward for an additional 15 years, or does it still carry forward for another 20 years?
Yeah, it still carries forward for 20. Now, again, let me clarify. The law says we can go back to 1987. We as a company don't go back that far. We will go back 10 years. So here's what goes on, guys. And, so CPA firms have something what's called a depreciation schedule. So if a CPA has a client that owns real estate, there's going to be what's called a depreciation schedule on that property. Right. So on that depreciation schedule, 9 out of 10 times that property is depreciating on the straight line schedule. Okay. It's depreciating the slow way, the old way. And we see it all the time. We see the whole property sitting in 39-year property, and let's say they spent, $5 million for that property, or $1 million. It doesn't matter what they spent for the property. The entire purchase price is sitting in 39-year property. So when we see that, we don't, and let's say they bought it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we put it into our estimating software and we recalculate the depreciation, basically showing how everything that we're going to be able to write off gets computed. So a lot of these assets that are depreciating under 39 years are basically sitting on the schedule incorrectly, and we're going to reassign different life for those assets, like carpet, fixtures, ceiling tiles, flooring, non-load bearing walls, electrical. All these things can be written off in 5 years. So when we make that adjustment, we're basically picking up all that missed depreciation. And that's really the magic behind. We're shifting things into personal property from real property, but at a federal level. It's basically the legality. Some of you are going to dig into this and start Googling it, and I encourage that. You can learn. You can learn about it, and understand the kind of the meat and potatoes of how this works and why it works. But again, we see that all the time, and that's a huge candidate for us to be like, oh my God, this is a no brainer. We'll probably get them $300,000-400,000 grand in tax savings by just hiring us.
Right.
So I appreciate that answer. So if they went back and you said they would not have to redo their tax filing, how do they get the credit? Is that credit for the previous 5 years in the example I used? Is that added to the current evaluation so they get that additional depreciation?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we don't double dip, so we don't back out so even though they might have taken some depreciation, obviously, our system automatically backs that out, so we never double dip. Okay. We're just going to recalculate what was missed, and we're going to reclassify those assets that were sitting in 39-year life, and they should have been sitting in a 5-year life. And so that's the adjustment, and then it gets compressed, and that's how it kicks out these big numbers that you guys will see once you start doing this. We'll start generating these benefit analysis for you, and you'll be like, oh my God, okay, now I get it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, Francine.
Thank you, Alan. Hello, Terry. Thanks for being here. I have a question for you, actually a couple of questions in regards to the types of transactions. And you showed us that slide. I took a picture, of course, of it because that's something I want to commit to memory. But I have a question in regards to different other types of a transaction for the cost segregation. And that would be renovations or expansions of the commercial building? And also, do you also use this strategy for leasehold improvements?
Yes, great question, Francine. Yeah, thank you. For sure. So the renovations are a big part of this. The renovations are also included into our studies. And so one of the things we like to do is once we're hired by the building owner and the property owner, get our engineers in there prior to renovation starting, so we understand what was there and then what's going to be removed. And then so some of even the things that are going to be thrown in the dumpster, they're throwing out, they're going to repurpose the building, what have you, new appliances, new flooring, new electrical, new lighting, new tiles, all that stuff still has depreciable life, and we can calculate those assets as well under what we call partial asset disposition. And that's just another level or layer within our cost seg studies. And we're able to pick that up. So absolutely renovations are included. And the second part of your question was leasehold. So you don't even have to own the building. There's some businesses out there that will lease a building just because that's just what they do, but they're going to spend $1 million on the build out. And that they also, whoever spends the money on the improvements gets the benefit of cost segregation.
Perfect. Thank
yeah,
you for that. Now, in regards to the improvement, will that revert to the lessor at the expiration of the lease?
No, because it's going to go on the leasors or the leasee that they're spending that money. It's going on their books, and then they get the benefit even when they move out. Now the owner is going to
when they that was the question.
Now here's the thing. So the owner of that property has got a tenant that just moved out and now is looking for the new tenant. So it depends on how the lease is structured. If a lot of times the building owner is going to give an allowance to the leasee, and therefore then the benefit would go to the owner because he's now financing or spending the money on the build out, but he's going to back it in on the lease. So it just depends on who's paying for what. Whoever's paying, whoever's writing the check gets the benefit of the depreciation.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Alan.
Great. Chloe? Chloe, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Alan. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi. I just wanted to know in regards to once you have all the documents from the client, and I'm sure the appraisal and things like that may take some time, but what's the time frame once you have everything that you need to get started with the client?
Okay, great question. So, step one, obviously we don't need much, right? You're just going to fill out a basic form. I don't need to collect anything. So once we're hired to do the engineering study, then we will ask for an appraisal, the purchase agreement, if there's renovation costs, if there's good records of that, if there's a blueprint, a site plan, depends on, it might be an old building that might not have anything. We still have the ability to figure out what those costs would be, if we don't have much information. But sometimes, you go into a situation where they've paid cash for the building, they don't have an appraisal. Therefore, we can work in any circumstance. We don't necessarily have to have the appraisal. If we don't have one, we go in there and do our thing, work our magic, and we'll come up with, we use certain software and something called RS means, and these are IRS approved resources that we can use and pull from when we kind of have to recreate our own numbers. Or if they did renovations and we weren't there and we had no idea what the heck was there beforehand, we will come up with our own valuations of what those components, how much depreciation is left on those assets. It just takes us a little longer. We may charge a little bit more money just because that's the situation. They didn't have they didn't have good data. So, but we approach every job a little differently, and that's how we price it.
Okay, Luke, did you raise your hand again, Luke? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, no, because those are non-taxable entities. The government buildings, businesses, they don't pay taxes, so there's no depreciation.
Right.
If you have access to government buildings, these are, facilities that are, let's say 30,000 square feet or more, or schools, and if they've done LED lighting upgrades, they've done, a new roof, they've done building envelope, they've done other energy management technologies to reduce energy costs. We will then come in and we can actually do what's called 179D, which is the federal energy program. And that money is this is kind of interesting. And again, this is another training at another time, but that money would flow through to the designer or the LED company or the contractor, that's doing the work inside the building. They could then take that depreciation off their income. And there's a whole method to all this stuff. But in terms of nonprofits, we do have a solution for nonprofits. Oh, yeah, sorry. I think you asked me that. Yeah, so from start to finish, we're usually running about 30 days to 45 days. Usually it's under 60 days, no matter what we're doing. Yeah.
Hey guys, well, I think this is the last question right here. Is asking, besides of residential and commercial property, do you fund anything, or do you provide service for other projects such as solar farm, for instance?
Is there tax incentives for solar? Is that the question?
No, it's asking, do you finance outside residential and commercial type of properties like solar farm?
That's interesting, and Alan, we can talk about that, because when we get into financing and funding, that's more in your world. But there are something what's called PACE.
Yes.
There is some, and so we're involved in PACE.
Yep.
Property assessed clean energy. We're also involved in what's called energy as a service, where we have private money that'll go in and completely pay for the upgrades for solar, for energy efficiency, for battery, for storage, for everything, that can impact energy. Our investors then own the equipment, and then the client then pays us back a percentage over a period of time. It's called energy as a service. So there's no out of pocket and there's provisions, there's pros and cons, just like everything, that we can get into at another call.
Okay, great, wonderful. Okay, guys, it's already 9:07, and well, there's another question, right? Who's this?
This is Edgar.
Oh, Edgar,
Sorry.
go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, just the last question real quick. I don't know if this question was asked, but what about is somebody's leasing a portion of the shopping center and they are remodeling, or they have remodeled that portion of this shopping center, and they've been in there for the past 6 years? Can they use this program?
If they're going to spend more than probably 350 grand and they're paying for the build out or the renovations, then we've got something to talk about.
Oh, if that is the case, I literally right now, I have a client in the Midwest. He owns 5 grocery stores. He does not own the building, but he's leasing those grocery stores, and the total renovation budget that he spent is over $2 million.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally.
Wow. That's the reason I asked.
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked, because I got a client right now who has a nightclub and can fit over 2,000 people in it. And he dropped in there, I think, over $700,000 to get it up and running, up to code and everything.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, great. Okay, guys, again, thank you so much, Terry, for such a wonderful information. And this recording will be on YouTube tomorrow, first thing in the morning. So again, we will post to our Facebook page. And if this is the first time that you're here, please follow us on Facebook and ask the person who invites you into this training, ask them to join our Facebook. And also all the training will be posted to our YouTube channel. Okay. So if you go to YouTube, you do a search, youtube.com/the @ Sequoia Lending. That is our YouTube channel. Okay, guys. So again, thank you so much for